Hey there, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a topic today that honestly touches almost all of us, whether we realize it or not. We're talking about mental health, but we're stripping away the myths and looking at the hard, clinical realities of depression. We're going to look directly at psychiatric insights to decode how the human brain actually handles severe burnout. Let's just dive right in.
21%. Just let that number sink in for a second. Back in 2020, OECD data showed that over 1 in 5 Japanese people were in what's called a depressive state. Over 20%. So if you're standing in a room with 5 people, statistically speaking, at least one of them is dealing with this heavy, overwhelming fatigue and lack of motivation. Feeling totally burned out? It's practically the new normal with the stress of modern life. But here's the catch. There's a massive, absolutely crucial difference between just being in a depressive state and having clinical depression. Knowing that difference, it could literally save a life.
So, here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. We'll start with the depressive state epidemic, move into the paradox of self-awareness, and then nail down the true core symptoms. After that, we'll look at family and third-party signs, the real dangers of untreated depression, and wrap it all up with the morning walk prescription.
All right, let's kick things off with part 1, the depressive state epidemic and normalizing the burnout.
Look, when you turn on the news right now and just see an endless loop of stress and conflict, it's totally normal to feel overwhelmed, right? Anyone can slip into a depressive state. It's just a natural reaction to a highly stressful environment. But this brings us to a really vital distinction. A depressive state is basically a temporary mood. It's reversible. Like, you might feel absolutely awful on a Friday, but if a buddy drags you out to a concert on Saturday, you actually have a great time and your mood bounces back. Clinical depression? Totally different ballgame. It is an abnormal, medically compromised state of the brain. The psychiatric source we're looking at uses a perfect analogy. Think of clinical depression like a broken bone. You wouldn't expect a fractured arm to just magically heal because you slept it off, right? Same thing here. Without proper medical intervention and time, it's irreversible.
Moving on to part 2, the paradox of self-awareness, or why those online quizzes fail. We see these online quizzes constantly, right? Take this 5-minute test to see if you're depressed. Well, relying on self-diagnosis is deeply flawed. Listen to this clinical psychiatric insight because it's fascinating. The source says, if you are proactively asking a doctor, am I depressed, you likely don't have severe clinical depression. Mind-blowing, right? It's totally counterintuitive. Basically, if you still have the mental bandwidth to think, man, I'm working too much, my sleep is wrecked, I should probably see a doctor, then your brain's self-awareness network is actually still online. In severe depression, that ability to accurately monitor your own mental decline is just gone. The brain is completely wrapped in a thick fog. In clinical psychiatry, this actually has a specific name. In Japanese, it's called hinin, which translates to denial. When someone is severely depressed, they will outright reject the diagnosis. Picture this. A doctor looks at a patient and says, you have clinical depression. And the patient immediately fires back, no way, I'm totally fine. I just need to get back to the office tomorrow. It's like the illness hijacks the brain to deny its own existence. So paradoxically, the sickest patients are usually the ones aggressively insisting they're 100% healthy and completely resisting help. Okay, part 3, the true core symptoms. Let's look beyond just feeling sad. So if we can't trust our own self-awareness, how do we actually spot this thing? We really need to ditch the idea that depression is just having a bad day or feeling blue. The ultimate medical red flag here is the loss of interest or joy. When you combine this with a severe drop in physical motivation, you are looking at the absolute hallmark of entering the clinical depressive zone. It's this sudden, profound inability to find even a drop of pleasure in the stuff you used to absolutely love. We're not just talking about not wanting to do spreadsheets at work, we're talking about totally losing the ability to enjoy your own downtime. Let me paint a picture for you using some clinical examples from the source material. Imagine a die-hard baseball fan, the kind of person who never misses a Giants game on TV, always wears the jersey, goes to the stadium, the whole shebang. Suddenly, it's game night, and they don't even bother turning on the TV. Or think about a major foodie who suddenly couldn't care less about eating at their favorite spot. When these core sources of personal joy just evaporate, that is a blaring neon red flag that the brain's energy is severely depleted. Which brings us to part 4, family and third-party signs, and the importance of being the observer. Since the person suffering literally loses their self-awareness, family members, friends, and even coworkers become the absolute front line of defense. You have to be the observer. There are 3 critical, highly visible signs you need to look out for. Number 1, drastic changes in appetite. If your spouse normally eats a good dinner but suddenly starts leaving half their food untouched day after day, you can literally see the evidence right there on the plate. Number 2 is severe sleep disruption. This could be total insomnia or the exact opposite,
like a complete inability to drag themselves out of bed in the morning until the very last second. And number 3, like we just covered, is abandoning those regular hobbies. If you see these signs, you can't wait for them to ask for help, because remember, they won't. You have to step in and guide them.
Let's move to part 5, the dangers of untreated depression and the risk of fixation.
It's super common to think, oh, they just need some time off, they'll bounce back. But treating a serious brain illness with just avoidance, that is incredibly risky. The clinical data gives us a pretty stark warning here. While it's true that a large majority, around 80%, do recover or manage it with proper treatment, up to 20% of untreated or poorly treated cases become chronic and intractable. Think about that. 1 in 5 people who just let this slide could end up permanently trapped in this depressive state, never fully getting back to their old selves.
You might have actually heard that famous, catchy phrase calling depression the cold of the heart. Well, according to our psychiatric source, you need to toss that myth right out the window. That was basically a marketing slogan designed by pharmaceutical companies to make people less afraid of getting treatment. But it drastically downplays how serious this is. I mean, a common cold clears up on its own, right? Untreated depression can lead to what psychiatrists call symptom fixation. If you stay in that dark state for years, the brain literally rewires itself to make that the new normal. That's why early intervention, treating that very first episode fast and aggressively, is absolutely vital. You have to stop the illness from locking in permanently.
Finally, part 6, the morning walk prescription. Let's talk actionable recovery.
Okay, I absolutely do not want to leave you feeling helpless here, because you aren't. So how do we actually take action to protect our mental health and pull back from that edge? The source material lays out this fantastic foundational triad for recovery and maintenance. It's brilliantly simple but wildly effective. Step 1, you've got to secure proper restorative sleep. Step 2, incorporate regular exercise. And step 3, and this is arguably the most crucial intervention for a depleted brain, is taking a daily morning walk to boost your serotonin. But pay close attention to the specific timing here. The prescription isn't just, hey, go outside for a bit. It is to walk for exactly 15 to 30 minutes in the morning sun. Why that specific window? Well, a healthy person might only need, say, 5 to 15 minutes of sunlight to get their brain chemistry firing. But if you're exhausted, burned out, or on the edge of depression, your serotonin levels are already deeply depleted. Your brain simply needs more time in the sun with that rhythmic physical movement to trigger the chemical production. That 15 to 30-minute morning walk, it literally reboots your neurotransmitters. It's essentially a biological reset button that kickstarts your motivation for the whole day. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this thought. Take a close look at your own life and the people around you. Are you, or maybe a loved one, slowly losing interest in the very things that used to bring you genuine joy? If you feel that invisible fog starting to creep in, you now have the tools to spot it, and you know that relying on your own self-awareness just isn't enough. The real question is, knowing exactly how powerful a simple biological reset can be, how are you going to change your morning routine tomorrow? Wake up, get out in that sun, and take back control of your brain's health. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.